Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. France are off to the World Cup finals, knocking Belgium out at the semifinal stage. How did they do it? Where did Belgium go wrong? And how did France stop Belgium's key players such as De Bruyne, Hazard, and Lukaku? Don't worry, here at the interviews, we've got you covered. So on this edition of the interviews, we're going to break down how France beat Belgium. France, Belgium, World Cup semi-final. France are off to the final. How did they do it? Where did they go right? Where did Belgium go wrong? When we break it down, we got France in a 4-2-3-1. Giroud ahead of Griezmann. Mbappe on the right. We have Matuidi on the left. Pogba and Kanté in midfield. We look at Belgium without Meunier. They go to a 4-3-3. Lukaku, De Bruyne, Hazard up front. Fellaini, Witsel, and Dembele in midfield. This is a game between two sides that love to play on the counterattack. Here, obviously, one had to dictate the tempo. One was offered the treat of sitting a bit deeper. That was France. They dropped into two banks of four. And they had Mbappe a bit higher because Vertonghen didn't look to get forward because he was scared of the threat that Mbappe presents on the counterattack. With that being said, Belgium made a few changes when they were going forward. They started as a 4-3-3, but when they get forward, they had Chadli push a bit higher on the right. They dropped into a three-man backline, Vertonghen, Kompany, and Alderweireld. They had Fellaini push a bit higher. At times, he pushed Pogba to be a third center back because he was trying to get in behind to the back post to nod crosses in. So Pogba was stuck with him and vice versa when Pogba was trying to get forward, and Hazard was stuck on the left. What were Belgium's issues? Well, the fact was they were struggling to create chances from open play based on the fact that France were so compact and defensively secure. Why was that? Well, one, De Bruyne was obviously trying to get the ball between the lines, trying to pick it up in dangerous positions. Kanté tracked his movement. Matuidi was able to shift over as well and help out Kanté, just like they did to Lionel Messi. And that was based on the fact was they weren't scared of the threat of Chadli. Chadli was breaking forward in the earlier stages. Matuidi was looking to press him. That was obviously what we thought would happen, but Chadli's threat wasn't much because at times they'd have Hernandez step to him, and when he did deliver crosses into the box, they wouldn't beat the first man at the near post. When he did try to cut in centrally, he lost the ball. It was a poor performance from him. France were able to cope with Chadli getting the ball on the right-hand side because he didn't offer a legitimate threat from the right flank. You look at the opposite side, obviously it's Eden Hazard. That's a big issue. Pogba being occupied by Fellaini ensured that they try to get 1v1 situations for Hazard against Pavard. And they know Mbappe is not really going to track him. We saw it in the opening 5 minutes where Hazard drifted by Mbappe with ease, then ran at Pavard, and then ran to the outside. His low cross was cleared for a corner. Another opportunity, an overhit cross, saw Hazard pick it up, run 1v1 with Pavard, whip his effort on goal, but Varane cleared it over the net. That one was going in, and that was the threat that Hazard possessed. However, it was odd because Hazard often drifted centrally, so it didn't allow him to get into 1v1 battles with Pavard, and that left Belgium a bit lopsided because they had no threat down their left-hand side. Vertonghen wasn't getting forward. Fellaini was occupying Pogba in the opening half, and that was a big issue for Belgium, that they really couldn't create chances, and they couldn't create it from deep because Giroud and Griezmann did a great job of sitting on Dembele and sitting on Witsel. When you really break it down, even at the times when Dembele got away from Giroud, the way he operated in possession was poor, sloppy passes, his touches were poor, he often gave away the ball, and his threat was nullified by Giroud, and the fact that when he got forward, he didn't offer much. Witsel was quiet as well. Frankly, only Alderweireld was getting forward, but even his long diagonals weren't connecting with his teammates, and they struggled to create chances from open play. You look at the main chances they did create, De Bruyne picking up the ball from deep position, delivering a cross from the right, Lloris punched it away. He moved to the left, delivered a cross, cleared by Varane. You look at a corner kick, that was from a set piece, falls to Fellaini, who tees up Alderweireld. He turns and forces Lloris into a save. But besides that, Belgium didn't look like they were going to score, and that was a big worry for them. France were comfortable out of possession, and they offered a threat on the counterattack as we expect. We look at the earlier stages, Pogba winning the ball in midfield, and their back three obviously a bit stretched. It's Mbappe running in between Kompany and Vertonghen to get onto the ball. Courtois comes out quickly, stops that threat. You look at another opportunity, where it's just Griezmann picking up the ball after great work from Matuidi and Conte to break out, and it's Griezmann running past all three central midfielders to break forward on the counterattack. Matuidi tries to join the run, but he makes his run a bit too early, and Griezmann is unable to play that pass. That was another threat that they offered on the counterattack. You look at when they push a bit forward, Umtiti is able to break, isn't pressed as Belgium drop off into their shape. We'll get to that in a second. He clips a ball over the top for Giroud, but Giroud can't control it. He pokes it on goal. That's another opportunity. Belgium, and as a whole, when they didn't have possession, they dropped off into 4-5-1 for the most part, and they were fairly organized, which doesn't make sense as to how they were being broken down in terms of collapsing. They had Hazard, who didn't really look to pick up Pavard down the left. De Bruyne was tucking in centrally as well. Lukaku was picking up Conte, who was sitting a bit deeper and trying to ensure that he couldn't get on the ball. You had Fellaini on Pogba. Witzel was responsible for Matuidi, who's charging down the left-hand side. Griezmann was dropping off deeper as well, which occupied, obviously, space for his teammates. And then you look down the right and what they were doing there. Not much. Pavard wasn't really getting forward, but he was involved in one of their better chances. And it stemmed from Mbappe running at Vertonghen, Witzel shifting over, and what happens is that Pavard makes a run around him. Mbappe pokes the ball into him, 1v1 with Courtois. Courtois makes a great foot save. But really, where they were finding joy was down the left-hand side. De Bruyne was tucking in through midfield, and that forced Charlie to step out to Hernandez, and look at that space there to run into. Matuidi constantly charged into that space in the first half. Sometimes the ball went to him, sometimes it didn't, but it was a warning sign, and that was a key factor in terms of the overall result, because when we get to the second half, we look at the chances that stemmed prior to the goal and then after the goal. One, it's Hernandez locating his run in between that space between Chadli and Alderweireld. Matuidi breaks into it, drags him out of position, plays it into Giroud, who earns the free kick that leads to the Umtiti goal. Minutes later, after the goal, you see Griezmann charge into that space to drag Chadli out of position. Matuidi breaks in, and as he's breaking, he's pulled down for a free kick. That was how France really got going. It was the key element in the first half that often went unnoticed, but Matuidi saw that space, constantly exploited Chadli's poor positioning, and eventually it paid off. Belgium were forced to make changes. They brought on Mertens for the poor Dembele. France again dropping off into two banks of four. And what we see here is they bring on Mertens now. He holds a wide right position, Hazard wide left, De Bruyne into midfield now, and Fellaini obviously trying to get a bit higher. And what we see is Mertens stay right, deliver two dangerous crosses earlier on. One falls to Varane, whips it in. It falls to De Bruyne, he flashes a shot wide. Another forces Lloris to push it away. We see a third one come into the box. Pogba does very well here because he tracks Fellaini's run to the near post. He offers enough pressure that Fellaini nods his effort inches wide of the net when it should have been going goal bound. That was Mertens' brief spell from the right, but the reason why this was a big tactical change was not only the fact that Mertens was able to stay on the right-hand side and deliver crosses. It freed up De Bruyne, who offers more tactical intelligence than you would say a Dembele or a Witzel in terms of finding pockets of spaces in deeper positions to get on the ball. However, for Belgium, De Bruyne wasn't that great. Misplacing passes, conceding possession. Yes, he did create two great chances, but it wasn't a stellar De Bruyne performance. Moving out to the right with Mertens, delivering a cross into the box, 6-yard box that Lloris pushed over. And then we look towards the end of the game where he delivers the ball from the left-hand side for Lukaku, who peels off behind Umtiti. However, he doesn't attack the ball. He should be on it. He should at least put the effort on target doesn't even connect with it. But that was De Bruyne in a nutshell. As the game wore on, we saw Belgium push forward, and what was key there was the fact that Hazard eventually took the game into his own hands, dropping off a bit deeper, trying to get onto the ball from deeper positions, running past Pogba, running past Conte, forcing him to be booked, winning fouls, finding De Bruyne. Sometimes he would be man-marked. He would find De Bruyne between the lines, but De Bruyne's final product around the box, especially in the second half, wasn't very good. He was wasteful, and that was key to Belgium's downfall. Often when you saw Hazard drift into central positions, you would see Fellaini move out to the left, obviously trying to get in behind Pavard, uses aerial threat to tower over him, but crosses weren't delivered to Fellaini. When we break it all down, you have to look at France, defensively solid, neutralizing Chadli. Mbappe's threat ensured that Vertonghen couldn't get forward, stopping De Bruyne when he was playing in a higher advanced position, pressing Dembele and Witsel out of the game. This was solid. They had the threat on the counterattack. They exploited Chadli's inexperience as a natural right back and his positioning to get Matuidi forward, which led to the free kick, and they eventually executed from a set piece. Whereas for Belgium, Meunier was out, but this again goes down to the lack of fullbacks that are being produced in that country. It became their downfall here once again. They didn't have the options to push them forward and provide the width. Hazard was kind of playing out of position, moving out to the left, moving into central positions from the left, didn't really get going until he had to drop a bit deeper. Lukaku didn't get the service, and all in all, Belgium once again fall a bit short. Whereas for France, you look at them, the defensive performance here and against Uruguay, and with the counterattacking threat that they have, suggests that they are World Cup favorites come the final. But let us know what you guys think. Can anyone stop this France side? Where did Belgium go wrong? And who will be the key player in the final for France? Meet us in the comments below. Don't forget, we upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.